for inviting me. I just want to say that being connected with Shri Aurobindo and the mother, when Shri Aurobindo passed away in the 5th of December 1950, the mother, I think, had a very difficult time. And it's Shyamprasad Mukherjee who offered to start a memorial, and he got collected a lot of, so many politicians in India, including Dr. K.M. Munshi and others, to start a Shri Aurobindo memorial, and he was a very great help for the ashram to survive. At the time there was a struggle also with the French government, and 4 years later it became part of Union of India. But Dr. Shyamprasad Mukherjee played a very important role for Shri Aurobindo there. So, of course, speaking after Mr. Ranade, I have not much to add. He has mentioned about all the leadership change. Just a small mention, you mentioned about the train from Kathmandu to Lumbini. I believe it is the General Secretary of the Government of Nepal who went in Tibet about 2-3 weeks ago, and who asked Lobsang Yatsen, the chairman of the TAR, of the Tibetan Autonomous Region, who asked him, please, and do a train for us. I mean, not only to Kerong and later on to Kathmandu, but do also that extra line from Kathmandu to Lumbini. So it's Nepali who are asking now that the Chinese should help them. Of course, they'll be very happy to help on this. So as I will go, how do you push the thing now? I think Shri Ranade has mentioned about all these change. And so Yu Changchang is being the chairman of the Chinese People Political Consultative Conference, and is looking after the Tibet affair, because within the standing committee each one has his own job. Like Yu Chan is in charge of the propaganda, or Wang Kishan is in charge of the discipline. And these days, as Mr. Ranade said, he has a lot of work, because after Bochilai affair, I think Bochilai was a case study, and I think now it has, he has been sentenced to life. I think more will follow. So the organization of the party, one very important aspect is the leading groups. The leading groups really, once a decision is taken by the Central Committee and the Politburo, it's implemented by these leading groups. So now they have different leading groups, one on foreign affairs, and there's some leading groups which are directly under the party, and some which are under the State Council, means the government. Now, this Central Tibetan Work Coordination Working Group is the group who deals with all the Tibet affair. And they have also a Central Working Group for Xinjiang, and both Ms. Yu Changchang is the chairperson and the leading. So whenever there is a problem in Tibet, it's him who will look after and report to the Standing Committee and the Politburo, and finally to the Central Committee if there's larger decision to be taken. But that leading groups are extremely important in the power structure. Now I will just a few words about what I call the karmic relation. When Xi Jinping in March, after the National Congress met the Tibetan delegation, he said many of my colleagues had relations with Tibet. Now, Liu Shibao, Politburo member, he was posted in Tibet. Wu Qinhua, again, sorry for the pronunciation, also is a member of the Politburo. He is the leader of the 6th generation. He may replace Xi Jinping in 10 years, or 9.5 years now. He is also posted in Tibet, and he is one of the very few cadres who could speak fluent Tibetan. Gao Zhilong, also member of the Politburo, was posted in Tibet, and Yang Xuantuan was he is a state cabinet, he is not in the Politburo, but he is also posted as deputy secretary in Tibet. So more that Liu Yuanlong, who is the senior most age-wise in the Politburo. She was in charge of the United Front, and as such, she is the one who was dealing with Lodignari and all Tibetan envoys during the negotiation, or the we should not call them negotiation, but the talks between 2002 and 2008. So I mentioned these three, and Shin Yi-shi, who used to be deputy secretary till recently, now has been nominated at a very, very crucial, important post. He is in charge of the Youth League, and most of the leaders who are today in the standing committee have gone through that post. So it seems that this Tibet, I don't know if it's bringing good luck or so, but most of these officers who have been posted in Tibet have been hardliners, and that is maybe one of the reasons why they've been promoted. General Zhang Shongxi, with you know, they have 7 military regions. So he is the commander of the Jinan, very important. So he is also been posted in the Lhasa, the Tibet military district, which is part of the Chengdu military region. And one of the most important generals, the commander of the PAP, the People's Armed Police, who's looking after the security, and you know, they have a larger budget than the PLA. He is also being posted. Wang Xiangping, who is a member also of the small group on Tibet, has been posted before in Tibet. So all these people have really, during their Tibet days, they have proved the regime that they were reliable and that they could count on them, and they have received very big promotion. Now, in the, Mr. Ranade mentioned that in the delegation to the National Congress, out of the 67 PLA, there was not a single Tibetan. But in the Tibetan delegation, there were 3 hands. One is the chairman of China Unicorn Group. One is Professor Ding Zhongling, who is the vice president of the Chinese Academy of Science. And one is Wang Honin, who is a very important member of the Politburo, who is on each and every picture wherever Xi Jinping goes, when he goes to meet Obama, he'll be on the picture. So Xi Jinping, actually, when he met the Tibet delegation in March, he explained that he would like the business to come to Tibet to invest, to do that so-called development, to make roads, to make infrastructure. He would like also to preserve the environment. They are conscious there's a very serious problem. So that professor from the Chinese Academy, the vice president of Chinese Academy of Science, is also a member. And of course, Wang Huning, who is very close to Xi Jinping, has also been a member of the Tibet delegation. Tibet delegation is not automatically Tibetan. Actually, Hu Jintao was member of has been for years member of the Tibet delegation. So because probably it was close to his heart, he had been for 3 years in very crucial, during the Tiananmen events in 88, 91, he was the party secretary there. So he remained member of this delegation. I think that's it. Lin Juha, he was supposed to be promoted as a member of the Politburo. He was the right-hand man of Hu Jintao. Unfortunately for him, his son, who was driving a Ferrari, had an accident. There was 2 naked girls in the car, 2 Tibetan girls, who are daughters of some high cadre in Shanghai. So after that, he was demoted and sent to lead the United Front, who looks after Tibet affair, Taiwan, and Xinjiang. But for him, it was really a demotion because he was hoping to make it to the Politburo. And he went to Tibet recently, but I don't think he has really the power to change things. And as mentioned earlier, the United Front Department is the main organization who deals with minority, who deals with Taiwan, who deals with small party which are not part of the Communist Party. And they try to bring in their own choice of Panchen Lama, Gyatsen Nobu. Now they have found a new Reting Rinpoche, who the fifth Reting Rinpoche was a regent of Tibet at the time Dalai Lama was born. So that's the seventh Reting Rinpoche. He's 19. He has been nominated member of the PPCC, and different person. One person who recently, I think, Sita here, he has been posted in Europe. He speaks fluent German, and many people thought he had gone out of power, but recently he has come in, and when Yu Shensheng visited Tibet in August, he was with him. Now, Xu Weisheng, the hardliner that you mentioned, has gone out. He still writes one editorial from time to time, but the new person is Shang Yishong, so we don't know exactly, because he will be eventually, if the negotiation starts again, he will be eventually the interlocutor of the Dalai Lama, whoever is the new Dalai Lama's envoy, or if the old one come again, or I don't know, Mr. Batseling maybe could tell us, but whoever will negotiate with China, he'll be their interlocutor. When Yu Changcheng went, I would say secretly to Tibet for 6 days in August. You see, the Chinese leader, they don't make big announcements. He stays 6 days in Delhi, he comes back, he lands in Beijing, and it comes in the newspaper, and you get to know slowly the day after what has happened. They are not making huge fanfare, they meet people, then do what they call inspection work, but it's announced always after. Here I put you can't see anything, but the standing committee of the party in Tibet. The red fellows are Tibetans. So you see they put some Tibetans who are I would not say puppet, but who are so-called representing the Tibetan people. You mentioned in the Central Committee, only Pema Cholim is a member of the 205 members of the Central Committee, which is the main organism in the party. Only one Tibetan, and Lobsang Gyatsen is alternate member. Now there's one party secretary, and there's 4 deputy secretaries. Out of the 4 deputy secretaries, two are Tibetans. One interesting thing that the 2 last one, the 4, they have an order, no? They have always the same order. They come in the party. The 14 and the 15 are Chinese Han born in Tibet. So I think it's very interesting. Their father must have been part of the 18th Army or who invaded Tibet. So these guys are born in Tibet. They are Chinese Han. So I don't know if they are half Tibetan or half Chinese. But I think otherwise the Chinese Han usually do not speak Tibetan, and they have very little contact. Though this, for example, the Wu Minjie has been 37 years posted in Tibet, so he has a good knowledge of the ground situation. Yu Changcheng not only visited, in January, he visited Kangze. In August, he spent 6 days in Lhasa, but he visited what is today China, which used to be Amdo, and who received him here, one of the most famous Lama, Jamyang Sherpa, who used to be the abbot of the Labang Tashikil monastery. So each time they're trying to use the lamas who have a reputation. And I've written a long paper recently on the different lama, starting by the Panchen Lama, their own Panchen Lama, and how they use them, the Dorje Pamo, and there's a long list of lama. They've been using them for their own purpose. And you know, they are not like Indian politicians. Sorry, sir, for the no, but Yu Chen go to Tibet, spend 6 days, and on the last day he was there was that big opening of the new opera they have done, and they have put fireworks and everything. It was really a great event for Tibet, but the guy didn't inaugurate or anything, he cut ribbon or that. He remained discreetly, he went back to Beijing, and his visit was announced later. So when they go there, they really look into the issues. So it doesn't mean that it's going to translate in good for the Tibetan, but they do the so-called inspection work. So his visit in Lhasa, and he was accompanying, when Xi Jinping was, apart from that meeting with the Tibetan delegation in March, has not really, apparently, whatever is coming in the press, taken interest or directly interfere into Tibet affair. He left it to Yu Cheng. Now, when he addressed the Tibetan delegates, he gave them a speech, and he spoke of the Chinese characteristics, but also the importance of Tibetan characteristics. It means that they have realized that if they, like they have done in the past, if they stop Tibetan to learn their language or stop all the religious activities, it will not work. So somehow they want to Tibetan to have their own thing, but in a controlled way. And development is the key for them. More they believe that more they will develop Tibet, more they will do road, more they will bring some prosperity, it's the solution. But immolation and other issues have shown that it was not the case. And of course, they always believe that there's a foreign hand, that the Americans are behind, trying to, the whole issue of Tibet is just an American or the CIA's invention and things like that. So, and they put it also on the so-called Dalai Lama's clique. So I will go fast because I think Chairman also, otherwise with, I think Mr. Ranade has mentioned the CMC and the role of the CMC. And for the first time, there is one Air Force. You know, the two main persons are the two vice chairmen of the CMC. Usually they've always been belonging to the PLA. For the first time, Xu Xilong is an Air Force, from the Air Force, you can see from his uniform. So there's one civilian, the chairman, Xi Jinping, and all the Air Force, Navy chief, Army chief, and the different department of armament and others, 4 departments are represented. Chinese dream you mentioned, but always they say that the Chinese dream is a dream for peace. It's, I asked many times, what are the implications for India? No, we will continue the peaceful rise of China. It will not, we will see, but it's a fact that it really corresponds to the hardening of the situation on the Indian border, mainly in Depsang Plains in Arunachal. It's true that Xi Jinping has taken over in a very, very quick manner, especially the PLA. And I go very fast. Part of that Chinese dream is modernization and combat readiness. When one of the first things he said, okay, no, the PLA officers, they have this car with a PLA plate. I don't know if you have this in the Indian Army, but they had Rolls-Royce, Ferrari, like that. So he gave a list about 20 different Lamborghini and all, that you couldn't put a PLA plate on these cars. So, and these guys were not able to have big banquet. Their wife were not able to do the shopping they used to do. So I think, I think Mr. Ranade said everything, but they realize that the party will collapse. Either that Chinese dream is also a purification of the party. It was in such a bad state, the PLA and the party, so corrupt, so much money diverted, that if they don't purify the party, it will collapse. So they have studied in depth the Soviet Union. While 20 years ago, Soviet Union collapsed. The Chinese Academy of Science or the Chinese Academy of Social Science have done in-depth studies of why the Soviet Union collapsed. And one of the reasons is this corruption, this lack of discipline. So they have no choice than to go fully in it. So there is a tendency that it goes towards Maoism, towards this self-criticism, all this, what Mao's use as a technique to control the people. But I think it's a sort of a large chance. I don't know if it's going to work. I don't know if Mr. Xi Jinping believes it's going to work. But because Chinese people also have their own aspiration. And when you have 450 million of microbloggers and all, last 2-3 weeks they have jailed so many people who they couldn't control anymore, who wanted to criticize the party. But it's a very big issue. For them, he said very clearly, it's a question of life or death. Another party collapse and they are very scared of chaos. Here in India, we are not scared of chaos because we are used to chaos. We live in chaos. But in China, they are very scared of chaos. I mean, I will not go through the thing that Tibet depends on two military regions. One, Langchu, which is looking after Aksai-Chin in Ladakh, and mainly the border issue. You see, this claim that they have is basically, except for the Aksai-Chin, but all the middle sector, part of Ladakh, and the Matma line, is all based on Tibetan claims. But Tibetan claims were dealt amicably with the government of India. There was discussion and negotiation either for NIFA or before or for central sector also. And it was done amicably and people could go from Tawang to Tsona without any problem. So many of Loit or other sector or Subansari you could cross and things like that, which has become hardened, but all the Tibetan claim became the Chinese claim. So I think I leave it to these airports. I think Mr. Hernandez mentioned it. This plane, I found myself on Google Earth. I think the day Google Earth took this picture, there was the plane there. You can still see this picture on Google Earth. Obviously, they are much more prepared. So, in India, everything goes slow. That mountain core, it will take some time, the development of roads for those who have been in Arunachal. One of the points about the LAC, I think there's much more, the Chinese claims advance. I don't know if you can correct me if I'm wrong, but like in Chumar, which is south of Tomoriri, they were not claiming such a large area. So that LAC, I'm always saying there's two LACs, there's Chinese LAC and Indian LAC, and in between there's intrusion. The difference in April 16, 17, they put tents. Usually they just come and go. But now, but their thing have many more new claims, few kilometers there, few kilometers there. So I think, and first I saw that it was a local commander who was taking this initiative, but now it has become very clear, especially after Shagakshan and other intrusion in Arunachal, that is deliberate policy from the CMC, from the chairman of the CMC, from Xi Jinping, because they want to assert, like they want to assert with Vietnam or Philippines or Japan, they want to assert their, and it's part of their Chinese dream to show that they are muscles and they are strong. I think I stop here because I've spoken a little bit too much.
Thank you, Mr.